There's 4 core elements of building in Fortnite Chapter 3. That's retakes, piece control, crosshair placement, and endgame. We're going to be going through every single one of those sections here in this video. Let's get straight into it. The first element of building is high ground retakes. There are 2 types of high ground retakes. There's the crazy face way retakes that you should not use in game because they're not effective. Then there's retakes that Bugga or Mr. Savage would use, and they're super effective, and that's what we're going to be looking at. If you want to master these, by far the easiest way to do it is in BHE 1v1s against a friend or random players. I don't have a code for that map, but I will have a code for a different map which is on screen right now, and that's Crank Simulator. This is the way I like learning a retake, because there's a difference between learning how to do it and then actually doing it on a player. So to first start off building that muscle memory and practicing the sequence of a retake, Crank Simulator is the best, because when you fall off and hit the ground, the map instantly deletes everything and restarts you. That way it's super easy to just keep going and going. You don't have to free fall through the sky for like 700 meters because it just resets instantly. So you should be definitely using that map to do so. So the second element of this video is piece control, and this is the most complicated thing that I've ever had to explain in a YouTube video. I'm going to try and do my best. Just know that every map is down below in the description because there's too many maps for me to go through for piece control. We're going to be talking about 3 different maps. On top of that, if you get confused at any point during this piece control explanation, please feel free to skip ahead. It's going to be confusing. So, we said for the simplicity of this video that piece control is the second element. That element called piece control is also built up of micro elements. So piece control is a result of having fast and consistent edits, being able to move your crosshair super fast and also not scuff the edit and not scuff pressing your binds. On top of that, you have to have great intuition. You have to be able to read your opponent and the direction he's going to pull off stuff like a pre-box or a cone to stop him from going up and achieving high ground. You also have to know when to apply different piece control strategies, such as piece control from above, or a side jump, or rapid side jumps, or exploiting into his box. That's a whole different conversation when you're talking about exploits. On top of that, when you have somebody perfectly boxed, you've used all of the techniques I've just mentioned, you still have to hit him. You still have to hit him with a shotgun or an SMG, and you have to make sure he doesn't break out of the box. So there's so many different things that build up this one thing called piece control. So if we're trying to master piece control, there's a sequence of things you have to do. First of all, you need to play on Raiders maps. These are the best maps for piece control, and that's why I've only included Raiders maps for this section. You want to be using his mechanics training map. This is all around a great map for practicing all sorts of building mechanics and editing mechanics. On top of that, you're going to strictly practice on his edit practice map. Again, all codes are down below. And you're going to finish your practice routine off with a piece control V2. You're going to do about 10 of the drills in that map. This will all take probably like 30 to 40 minutes. If you don't have that, you can just do these maps at different times, because doing something is better than doing nothing. So I've made it like that. For the top tier players that want to improve as fast, you guys can put an hour into these drills. If you don't have that time and you still want to improve, you can just put a few minutes into each of these drills every couple of days. With that said, that's the best I can actually do to explain piece control, and my throat is absolutely fried because I tried to do this like 15 times. Let's move on to tip 3. Crosshair placement is the third element of this video, and it's super hard to master, but when you do, it's the cherry on top for everything. So you might notice that this video is all about building, and now I'm talking about crosshair placement. When you pull off a retake, or when you box somebody and get perfect piece control, or when you exploit into somebody's box, or you're having a 50-50, crosshair placement comes into effect every single time. It's all about taking your crosshair from building or editing a wall and snapping it to your opponent as fast and as clean as you possibly can. So to pull that off, you should be practicing on Raiders mechanics training map. Down below I'll put a code for that. That is, again, I mentioned it in the tip before, but it's the best map for crosshair placement. It's super easy to play, and on top of that, it's just all around easy. Just play it and you'll get better. It's that simple. Fortnite tournaments are going to be starting soon, and if you guys need the best guide to prepare for tournaments, I have that video already made. I want to release it, but you know the deal. We have to hit 35 likes on this video in the first 24 hours, and you can expect this video tomorrow. If you guys come through, I'm super happy. That's a big goal. Please try and hit that like button. Let's get on to the next tip. So this last part of the video is going to be about endgame, and there's a lot of different things you have to master for building an endgame, and it's probably the hardest scenario because it's also the laggiest. There's also a lot of players. If you're in a stacked game, it's crazy. I was in a stacked scrim the other day. There was 44 people in a second movement zone, and it was so laggy, you couldn't kill anybody. So you need to be mastering these things right now. So we're going to be talking about tarps and swapping builds in different scenarios. So obviously, when there's people spraying you, you need to swap to brick. Brick is always the default material you should be using. Metal is what you should use to box up, but when you're tarping, definitely use brick. The reason why is because brick is it's harder than wood, but it doesn't break as easy off spawn than metal, because metal takes a long time to build. So if you place a metal wall, 2 or 3 shots will break it, but if you place a brick wall, it's like 4 or 5 shots to break it as soon as you place it. So that's why you need to always use brick in your tarps. And then obviously when you're boxing up or you're stationary, use metal, and try not to edit that metal, because when you edit something and reset it, it goes back to 1 HP and has to build up again. So if you reset it and then someone sprays it, it's just going to be in a pattern of them holding the trigger. With the MK7 assault rifle, you can ghost bullets through the builds, guaranteed, no matter what ping. Super simple to do, and it's just to do with the way the fire rate of the gun works. So you should always aim at your target and hold the trigger, because you can be expected that bullets will ghost through, and it's guaranteed that 1 bullet per wall will ghost through. So if you break 5 or 6 walls, 1 bullet will ghost through every single time, and you're hitting them for 60-70 damage. And it's super easy damage, especially if they're using metal. So make sure you are using brick so it doesn't happen to you. Obviously, then you need to master the different kind of tarps. You've got your tunnels, okay? So your tunnels are your fat square tunnels. You can do the ramp tunnels like that, where you place a ramp over your head. Then you have like tarping on high ground. On high ground, you obviously do floor cone, but you also need to know what direction to go in, what material to use. And if nobody's spraying you on high, you should actually be using metal. Don't use wood, because it'll just get broken super easily. Always resort to using wood last when you're on high ground. So use metal, because if no one's spraying at you and that actually over time gets really solid, it's literally impossible to shoot you down. So definitely do that when you're tarping on high ground. And if you can avoid using cones to save materials, do that. But if people are spraying you, use cones. And again, that scenario of using wood, if you have no other materials except wood and you have a lot of wood, definitely do cones and floors all the time, because wood is a weak material. You want to make it as strong as possible, so double layering it like that is super effective. On top of that, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, and the video on screen right now is something that you need to watch if you want to get better at the game.